We just found we're going to replace our motor mount for the outboard on the stern rail. It's sitting right there. We've got it down below. We'll bring it up with us probably next time. We'll mount it when we bring the engine up. And I do still have to rebuild the engine, or at least go through the carb. I do that pretty much every year. Make sure that the float bowl on these Hondas, especially the small ones, they can rust out, because unless you really drain them and drain them very thoroughly, they will get condensation in the wintertime, and over the course of the winter you end up with rust, which is not what you want in your float. All right. We're looking pretty good now.
Looking better.
Looking better. And there's the that's the motor mount we're going to launch. Hey, what do you call it? Mount. Okay. So we will mount the barbecue and the outboard on a new mount. We come back in a week. Well, as part of our getting the outboard ready for the spring, a couple of things we do is we replace the carburetor, which or don't replace it, we make sure that the bowl is clean and stuff, which unfortunately we've already done it. I forgot to film that part. Since I didn't show a view of the carburetor being opened up and the float bowl being cleaned out, here's a quick view of what it looks like. I'll give you an example of what we're dealing with. It's just a quick job. Next, knowing that the carburetor is clean, what I typically do is I'll try and run it just to make sure that there's just a few drops of fuel inside. In fact, let me see if we've got any fuel here at all. Let's there we go. Make sure we've got this loose. And what we got in here? I'll have to take a look. Anyway, next thing I want to do is I want to change the oil. It's been a couple of seasons, so we'll put some oil in. And I'm also going to do the gear lube. We don't do this every year, but we do, based on the number of hours we run, we'll do the oil maybe every 2 or 3 years. We do the lube about every 4 or 5 years. This outboard's still relatively new. I think it's only like 20 years old, maybe 21 years old. But I've just replaced the carb one time, 75 bucks. Took about 10 minutes to do. And other than that, it's been running pretty good. One of the issues is they don't make parts for this. I guess maybe they never have. As an example, for the gear lube, you've got a drain point right here. That's this right here. And there's you can get a screw for it, but you can't get the gasket for it. No big deal. I can make my own gaskets as needed. That's the fill. This is a drain down here right below. Same gasket, same issue. But that's something that's easy enough to deal with. I also kind of tend to clean it up, make sure that it's you know, clean. And at this point, I think what I'm ready to do is change the oil, but I'm going to run it for a second now that the carb is all rebuilt. So I'll make sure we have just a touch of fuel, run it to warm up the oil, and we're in business. So now that the carb is set up, I'm going to go ahead and run this, see if I can get it to run, put a little touch of fuel in there, and if we can get it running, we'll go ahead and warm it up just enough to change the oil and that gear lube for the lower unit. Let's see what we got here. It's not too big of an issue running it, but you don't want to run it too long because it can actually overheat. This ought to be about enough time to warm up. It only takes like maybe a third of a quart or even a quarter of a quart of oil, so it warms up very quickly. The exhaust actually runs down the tube and comes out underwater just over the prop, which by the way reduces cavitation. Anyway, so let's see what we can do. Alright, now we'll go ahead and change that oil. Thought it might be of interest. The oil level is right here. You can see it. We're slightly inclined right here in this position, so you don't really see it at the middle, but you want it in the center of that view window. And here's where you fill it, right here. Okay, and I have yet to change the oil in all these years where I don't get a little spillage. Typically just when I drain it. But you gotta do what you gotta do. Anyway, we'll clean it up. We've got the screw back in. I just fill it up and we're done and ready to go. Sweet. Looking pretty good too. I just have to put the right amount of oil in now and we got it made. Okay, that ought to do her for the moment at least. Now I can go ahead and drop a little oil in there. I think I'm going to use a really quickly. I'll grab a spout and here we go. Now we don't put much in. Because we only took a little out. Okay. I can visually see where that is in there. That's the beauty of this thing, is you can kind of see where the oil level is. So I'll go ahead and put a little touch more. And that's probably enough. We'll have to kind of wait and see though. Yeah, that's looking good. And let's see how we look here. Go ahead and bring it back down. Put this in first. Everything seems to take longer. I mean, normally I do this in a couple of minutes, but when I'm videoing, it seems to always take a little longer. Oh well. Let's see if this is about where we want it or not. Let's go all the way down to about the halfway point. Maybe this is as far as it goes. Yeah, this is it. Okay. And let's see what it looks like here. Looks good. Actually looks just about perfect. Let me see what we look like when I open this now. Should be down a ways, hopefully. This is like a visual check. I can take just a touch more. Alright, just ever so slightly more. So, we'll bring it up one more time. Try a touch more. But not too much. And we'll check this again. See what it looks like in there. We look pretty good. I don't think I'd go any farther than what we've got there. Put this back in. And we'll we'll be in business. Now, as with all things, once we've loaded them up, I want to run it just for a second. On account of we really do want to make sure that we've got the right amount of oil in there. Bring it down like this. We should be able to start it. Maybe. Let's see what happens here. Here we go. A little of this, a little of that. Good. That does the oil change, and now I want to do the gear lube while we're at it. And here we had to use a impact driver to get these things off, which is fine because by the way, there's no water. I don't know if you can see, but there's no sign of water intrusion, so that shows you that you're actually looking real good as far as the differential goes. Basically, the drive gear here looks fine. Let me bring it up a little bit so we can see a little better. So the fluid coming out looks good, and generally what we do, get the rest of it out of here. So Honda actually recommends that you fill this from the bottom. So what you do is you actually start by pressurizing this and you add it until it comes out the top. And once it hits the top, you can put the screw down here back in place. And then what we'll do here, we're getting real close, and I'll top it at the top with yeah, the very top. I'll go ahead and finish it off. This makes sure that you've got stuff all the way down to the bottom of the your differential gears are in here, which are kind of critical to be lubed. Then we'll run it again for a moment afterwards just to make sure that everything looks good. We'll pop just a little more up here till it hits the top. Okay, it's about as topped off as you can get, really. But I like to actually visually inspect, so let's take a quick look. I might have room for a little more in there. Yeah, I think we do. I'm going to keep adding a little bit more. Here we go. That's about it. I think I'm going to call this perfect. Gotta call it something, right? And once this is on, I'll go ahead and and I'll use the impact driver to cinch it down since I took it off with that. It's always nice not to lose gear oil, especially not to allow anything to get in. This is underwater and it's got a lot of vibration, a lot of force. So what we want to do is make sure that we, more than anything else, we want to make sure that we've got this thing situated so we don't have any saltwater intrusion or any kind of water intrusion, fresh or salt. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Okay, that's not going, so I think that's about it. I don't even know what I've set this thing to, actually. But it's doing what I need to do. All right. This seems to be done. And now We're going to run this for just a second to make sure that everything looks good there. Here we go. Okay, I think we've got it. So this is us taking the outboard back up, and we're actually, interestingly, we're heading back by all these tents where they're getting ready for the, I think they call it Trawler Fest, right? Booth's getting set up for Trawler Fest, and it's a big deal up here. It's going to be a lot of fun for people.
The first thing I did when we got on board was to remove the old outboard motor bracket from the stern rail and replace it with a new bracket. This old bracket, I think, has been on there for probably close to 20 years, so it's done some pretty good service for us. It's real easy to take off and replace, so that was the first thing we did. I was a little bit nervous about dropping any of the nuts and bolts and washers overboard while I was putting the new bracket on, but everything went well.
All right, we have a mount.
I've heard a lot of, I guess, call them horror stories. People dropping their outboards into the water, so I'm kind of careful when I'm lugging this thing around. You'll notice I've got a line tied around it, and I kind of clip that off to the halyards when I drop it on and off the dinghy.
You ready? You got that?
Once the outboard's been mounted, it's time to mount the barbecue. In a way, the barbecue kind of represents the beginning of our boating season, because really until the weather gets warm enough, the sun comes out to where we can really enjoy ourselves, there's not a lot going on in the water.
A little more. Now back to the stern. Toward me a little more toward me. That's to the stern. I think that's it. Hey, we did hot dogs first time on this, didn't we?
I don't remember.
I think we did, yeah. We mounted this barbecue July 4th, 1997. All right, looking good. Next stop, adventure.